about that? What a concept. You gotta turn it on. 1, 2, 3, testing. No, no. Testing. Ah, there, even I can hear myself. All right. I don't know how I'm going to preach today with only one hand. It's like, how do you talk with only one hand? I do not know. That's a good idea. So my name is Rosie Potestio. I am one of the prayer chaplains here at Unity Orville. And today I would like to talk to you about seeing God in the details of life. Carolyn Meese is one of my favorite authors, and in one of her lectures, she suggested that we see God in the details of life. I had to stop and think about what that really meant to me, to see God in the details of life. Of course, there is always the obvious. It's easy to see God in the large things, the new birth, new job, new relationships, challenges, unexpected blessings. But what about looking for God in things that we feel are not so good, or maybe even tragic? She is asking that we go beyond the obvious, go beyond the easy, to something deeper and more meaningful. She said, in the details. So I invite you on a little journey into the details of life. It is said that God is always working in our life. And if we don't see it, maybe we're not looking deep enough. I would be the first one to say that that is easier said than done. However, just because we do not see the hand of the divine in the details around us does not make God's presence any less real. And yes, maybe we do need to look a bit deeper. Seeing God in the details of life means recognizing God's presence and influence in the small, seemingly ordinary aspects of everyday moments. It is noticing the beauty, order, and intricate design in the world, and seeing them as evidence of divine creation. So far, sounds easy, right? Pick up a beautiful orange and red leaf that has fallen to the ground and see the hand of the divine in the changing of the seasons. Yeah, we can see God in that. But we are called to see more deeply, to see God in absolutely everything, large and small, ordinary and extraordinary, minute and monumental. We are called to find meaning and purpose in everyday experiences as we recognize the guiding hand in the divine, which shapes our lives and our world. Excuse me. And we are especially called to see God in times when we are challenged. Now that gets a bit harder. To embrace this practice of seeing God in the details of life, I would like to suggest a few things. The first one, I know we've all heard this before, live in an attitude of gratitude. Because when we appreciate absolutely everything, it is easy to see the hand of God at work, even in the little things. We are called to observe the beauty around us by looking with awe at the intricate pattern of life, whether a leaf, the delicate beauty of a flower, or the vastness of the universe. We are called to find meaning and purpose in routine and unremarkable circumstances. We are called to notice kindness and serendipity. For me, I have found that a gratitude journal is my best way to record the blessings in my life. I have taught classes in gratitude practice, and one of my favorite sayings is, every day write 3 things in your gratitude journal that you are grateful for, and I don't care what they are, even if it's indoor plumbing and flush toilets, I don't care. Find something. And look for blessings. Record your blessings. Unexpected blessings. Look for those something beautiful that was never anticipated or expected. Maybe a chance encounter which leads to something old being made new again, like when a friend you have not heard from in years suddenly calls just to see how you are. Simple blessings, like my husband replacing the windshield wipers on my car before the rain. I really appreciated that. Unexpected blessings, like walking into this sanctuary and finding it filled and overflowing with music. Maybe it's someone helping you at the grocery store to find something on the shelf, or a neighbor bringing you a plate of Christmas cookies. It is always an unexpected blessing when strangers help me with my luggage when I am traveling. You are a blessing when you keep water in your car to give to others. Unexpected blessings are all around us. This is God working in our life. And find significance in little things, even the most minute aspects of life. They are imbued with God's presence. Seemingly insignificant things, like a warm meal, or a cup of soup on a rainy day, a flower in the garden, or a wild turkey wandering down the road. Notice the little things. Recognize the divine in others. See God in friends, partners, siblings. For not only is God working in your life, he is also working in theirs. Look for this working of the divine, because absolutely everyone in your life is a gift from God, even those that irritate you. I'll wait while you have a good laugh on that one. They all have something to offer. Thank you, Lord. And cultivate a worldview that looks for the sacredness in all of existence and the interconnectedness of all things. We are all children of God. We are all connected. We are all one. It is easy to see God's influence in answered prayer. But what about in unanswered prayer? Maybe especially in unanswered prayer. There's a wonderful country western song by Garth Brooks that speaks to this, and it is entitled Unanswered Prayers. Like any good country western song, it tells a story. He relates that he and his wife had attended a hometown football game, and at the game they ran into one of his old high school flames, and he was reminded of this past love, and he said, "I couldn't help but think of the way things used to be. She was the one I had wanted for all time. Each night I'd spend praying that God would make her mine. And if he'd only grant me this wish, I'd never ask for anything again." She wasn't quite the angel that I remembered in my dreams, and I could tell that time had changed me in her eyes too, it seemed. We tried to talk about the old days. There wasn't much we could recall. I guess the Lord knows what he's doing after all. And as I walked away and looked at my wife, then and there I thanked the good Lord for the gifts in my life. Sometimes I thank God for unanswered prayers, for some of God's greatest gifts are unanswered prayers. I love country western songs. Good ones. That tell a good story. We are asked to cultivate an awareness of God's presence and activity, not just in grand moments, but throughout the fabric of life. This is seeing God in the details, in absolutely everything. When we understand and believe that even the smallest things in life are imbued with God's presence and are a part of the larger divine plan, we are then experiencing God's presence. This is how we are called to live. And yet, there is an elephant in the room. There is an elephant in the room when we talk about looking for God in the details of life. After all, what about the tragedies? Where is God in the wars, pestilence, disaster, murder, fire, flood, famine? Where is God? In these times, where is God? Is God even present in these disasters, I have to ask? And yet, we are told God is everywhere at all times. So yes, I have to believe that God is even present then. But where, I ask? This really is more than my little human brain can comprehend. And I remember what Fred Rogers' mother told him. She said, whenever there is a catastrophe, always look for the helpers. There will always be helpers just on the sidelines. She told him that if we look for the helpers, we will know that there is hope. And yes, I see God in these helpers, and I revel in the stories of beautiful acts of courage in the face of tragedy and loss. Looking back at the campfire and the bear fire, we saw these helpers up close and personal. We were some of those helpers. I can look around this congregation. We were those helpers. We saw the multitude of times friends and neighbors and even strangers stepped up to help. Whether we were personally evacuated or not, whether we lost our home or not, we all have stories to tell of countless people who showed up to help. There God is. I am still in awe of those that came forward to help the animals who had been displaced during the campfire. So many just showed up to care for those animals and then tried to find their owners and find them a place to live again. Look for the helpers, for in the helpers we will see God. I acknowledge that it is hard to see God in something that has always been a sadness, or even as deep as a wound. And so I would like to tell you a personal story. Some people love autumn. Me, not so much, at least when I was younger. When I was growing up, we lived on a small ranch, and during the summer there was plenty of work to do. But there was also swimming in the creek, playing in the lawn sprinklers, playing hide and seek at dusk with other children, camping trips to the mountains where I would feel so close to God. And when autumn came around, that slight chill in the morning air and the first leaves starting to turn, it meant a return to school, which saddened me. It saddened me because I was never very comfortable in school. Being an introvert, I am, trust me, I am. I never learned how to deal with the bullies. And I kept to the corners of life. So school was not a happy time for me, and I was sad that summer had come to an end, which was evidenced by the signs of fall. I remember one morning when I was about 8, I woke up and realized that it was the first day of school, and I just started crying. I did not want to go back to school. I did not want to face that. And fall was the evidence that it was time to do that. But that changed one morning many years later as I was taking a walk with my dog through the neighborhood, and I suddenly noticed the beauty of the leaves on the trees that were turning color, the absolute beauty. The old sadness had healed, and I was finally able to fall in love with autumn for the first time. Now, I love this time of year, and I look for the first orange or red leaf on the maple tree in front of our house. I look for the first advertisement of pumpkin everything, even though pumpkins belong on the front porch. I look for the first advertisement. I really do. I look for the advertisements of Halloween costumes. I look for cooler days when my roses start blooming again after the heat of the summer. I look for the fall fruits, the apples and the pears to eat or cook. I look for and enjoy the autumn season as a gift of God's bounty, for God's bounty is absolutely everywhere. When we see God in all things, it creates a reverence for absolutely everything, which helps us to understand the interconnectedness of all of life, an interconnected field of cosmic action that it has its beginnings and endings in divine consciousness. Now, I love that sentence. I'm going to read it again. An interconnected field of cosmic action that has its beginnings and endings in divine consciousness. Everything, you, me, everything. And it is through this reverence for everything that we begin to get an inkling of the power of the divine, which in its totality is incomprehensible to our mind. But we begin to get a hint. In this reverence, we fall in love with all of life, which brings us a feeling of awe for the presence of God in all things. In this field of awe, we recognize and embrace everything, because absolutely everything is of God, and we cannot add a single thing or subtract a single thing. In this reverence, we are then seeing God in everything. The power of the divine is in all and available to all. When we recognize this, we are able to draw and live from that source. It is like the air we breathe. It is the air we breathe. We only need to draw it in. Breathe in that breath of God and see God in all things. And I'd like to leave you with this one last line. God, grant to me the grace of reverence, that I may see you in all things, and that I may be one with all life, and that my life may serve the whole. Amen.